Welcome to Breaking Through the Contradictions. Here we openly discuss various contradictions and challenges that we pass on and also teach our children that, if not addressed, will impact the individual development of each child. We will explore the topic, share pertinent information, and provide ways for you and I to take action. We look forward to you joining our conversation. So let's get started. The views and opinions expressed by the guests, speakers, and participants in this context are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the organizers, hosts, or any affiliated individuals or organizations. We encourage open dialogue and diverse perspectives, but the individual viewpoints shared during this discussion are personal and should not be attributed to any collective entity involved. Woo-hoo. Yes. We made it. Hello, ladies. How are you today?
Hello, doing good?
Doing well. That was funny. That was not intended.
Man, dum-dum-dum. This is how that works, right? You two have been in the classroom way too long. Now you're able to, so you're just like chiming in. But I'm going to say, I think that we've been spending a lot of time together. Because some things that between me and Kristen, there's some things that are happening. I'm like, oh, okay. It's okay. You can still see it. Under the hood, I'm still me. I'm the same as you met me until now. It's all good. We got this, friends. We got this. So, yes. So how do I did this last time? Okay. So before we get started, let's see. I don't know, Christine, I'm going to have to do this. Wait. Nope, I have to figure this out. I'm trying to figure out this thing. So let's go this direction. And
then you can put
it on. Hey, friends, can you please like and subscribe to the channel? There we go. Dun, 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 dun. All right. If you can do that for me, that would be greatly appreciated. Your support is greatly appreciated. All right. So that's what I needed to do. And so, of course, now it does this. Exactly what I wanted to do to begin with, but it doesn't want to do it. Very interesting. Funny. So for now, I'm just going to leave that here. So, so this is fun. We get an opportunity to have a conversation about what Mike Asherbrander says is kindergarten skills.
Yes.
Right? This is dedicated to you, Mike, because we're going to figure out whether or not we're going to figure out if all I needed to know I learned in kinder. That's our subject today. So is that true? Because Christine, you work with the littles.
Yes, I do.
So tell me about this. So is everything I need to know in life, will I learn it in kinder?
All the social skills and emotional skills, yes. You should be able to learn that in kindergarten with a experienced teacher or somebody that is in tune with their children's needs, their students' needs, and that has empathy. So I would say with a teacher like that, you should be able to develop those social emotional skills that would be needed to carry you through life.
Okay, so because you said it like that, now I have questions.
Wait. Just stop for a minute. Are you speechless?
No, I just have questions.
Maybe. Oh, wait.
No, because here's what happened. A whole entire semi overturned in my head in all those lanes because I was like, hang on, wait, what? Oh, wait a second. So when I look at kindergarten skills, before our children go to kinder, they have to be able to at least have their ABCs and count to up to 10 or 20. Help me.
So are you saying that that's going to carry you through to my age?
I just want to know what the stipulations are, the expectations are during the school. I just want to know What do we need to, in order for the child to go to kindergarten, what do they need? What do I, as a parent, need to give to them so that they will be successful in kinder? And because I want to know what you're teaching them on the other side of things. I'm just curious. I told you I had questions, not speechless, just questions.
Okay, thought it related to the skills we needed. All right, so children need. It would be ideal if they would know I'm not gonna make it. It would be ideal if they would know their letters and being able to count to 20. Okay. That would be ideal. But children coming into kindergarten, they don't always know that because a lot of them do not go to preschool. I got that out.
I thought mine is at home.
And even if they do go to preschool, sometimes they still don't know them. I have a family member who still doesn't know all of their letters.
No, they don't. They don't learn it.
We all get stuck in the one place where they try to change the alphabet song. Lemon, right? So that's where we all get stuck. Elemento. What did you say? Okay, so
where's Elemento go?
My students just did that the other day. I was like, wait, they know all of their letters and sounds. So they did the Elemento P.
Elemento P.
That's it. Elemento. Because we all get stuck right there, right? So envelope. So that's just all feels like all the same. But alphabets, okay. So I taught my children all 26 letters, and I taught them to count up to 20, right? So we were able to do that. And it's called rote, right? ROTE, rote.
Mm-hmm.
So you're able to do rote because everybody's like, what is that? So it's that thing that it's that repetitive learning. Yes? Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to assume, first of all, there used to be a time in which they wouldn't accept you in kinder if you did not match that, if you did not come with at least the minimum, the bare minimum.
So in our school district, they would put them into groups. So one, if they were lower, they would go all day. If they had higher skills, they would go half day. So that's how our school district did that.
Okay. Well, what I will say is that that's very confusing. No, I know exactly how we're supposed to get in. So when they're in school, when they're in the kinder, now what should I as a parent expect to receive from the kindergarten experience?
So kindergarten is extremely different. So you'll be expecting for children to be able to write, and they should be able to write on a topic for 3 to 4 sentences. And being able to do persuasive, this is what is on our kindergarten report cards, doing persuasive writing and staying on topic, 3 to 4 sentences. They need to be able to, this is new, we're having new report cards, so I'll just tell you what's on those. They have 10 and they need to be able to divide the 10 up and being able to give the different combinations of 10. They need to be able to do sort out numbers between the ones column and the tens column and specify how they're sorting it out. They have to be able to do patterns. They need to be able to do word problems. They need to be able to do addition and subtraction. And then with the addition and subtraction, sometimes the first number's missing. We're starting to do some of those kinds of things that we used to see later. They have open and closed syllables now. We have beginning, middle, and end sounds that they need to be able to delineate. So they need to be able to hear the middle sound in isolation. So in the first sound in isolation, end sound in isolation. And they need to be able to be reading fluently and being able to comprehend. And I'm not done yet. They need to be able to also be able to compare and contrast books. They need to be able to tell the setting, the setting, the characters, and then the main events of it. They need to be able to tell the difference between fiction, nonfiction, but not only that, the text features of each one of those. So this is what's happening in kindergarten. So we're talking about children that are falling through the cracks, and I see your face, you're dumbfounded. That isn't even about science. Science and social studies is a whole nother thing that's pretty complex. So this is in kindergarten. So what happens, and I see your face, is it developmentally appropriate?
It is not.
Okay, so it is not. So what is happening to our children? It is not developmentally appropriate. So we are losing children to already in kindergarten. If they're not getting these foundational skills, they're in trouble for first grade and on because they're missing this. So kindergarten, I don't have like milk and cookies and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, it is hardcore stuff. We have block schedules for kindergarten. It's very rigorous.
What are we doing? I don't understand this. Okay, so I like this started off to be a funny subject because it's just one of those things where you're saying everything you need to know in your life you're going to learn in kinder, but that was the social emotional part of it. What is bothersome to me is that, let me ask first before I just kind of just like do this implosion. Where did these come from? What grade level did they push it down from to push into kinder?
So it used to start, I would say, so 10, 15, probably about 15 years ago, they were pushing down probably from second grade. Kristen, I'm probably going to need your help on this. I'm going to guess some of this stuff is now third.
The writing 3 to 4 sentences is a 4th grade thing. That was something that I was hoping that I could get my 4th graders to do.
Okay. So that's no longer, this is kindergarten writing on a topic.
Absurd.
Yeah. And then being able to spell phonetically, which I mean, children should be able to know how to do that. But plus they also have to know the ending. They also have to be able to capitalize the very first letter of the sentence, put spaces between their words, being able to match the picture with writing. So it is, so talk about stressful. Mm-hmm. Not only that, they have that and plus testing. So I have testing. I have iReady testing that they have to go on, and that's 3 times a year for reading and math. And then I also have M-class testing that I also do with the children. We have dyslexia testing. We also have gifted testing that we do for all of the children. I think I got all of the testing. If they're bilingual, of course, they have bilingual testing, so they know how to service them. But kindergartners have testing.
I'm not speechless, and I'm really have to choose my words because words are power. And at the end of the day, I am extremely disappointed and upset because what I just heard you explain is why a lot of parents are struggling, and then why the children are doing some of the things that they're doing, because we ultimately we break up the family homes by making it impossible for these families to survive on a single income or even 2. You have families that have to do 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet and still don't have food to feed their children with. And that's problematic for me. But then to add on top of that, so you've already broken up the household because in order for them to have a place to lay their children down, they have to work. So now they're absent out of the home. And so they're not able to send their students, some of them, and I'm not saying this is not a blanket statement. Please do not send me messages about blanket statements. This is not a blanket statement. This is generally. And if you look at the numbers alone, they tell you it is actually feeding and validating what I'm saying. So you have a good number of homeless population in our schools today that people are not talking about. Mm-hmm. Inside that homeless population, that's an additional thing that they have to work through. And now it's breaking down their confidence. But those parents who can barely keep it together don't have the opportunity to teach their child their ABCs and their 1, 2, 3s to get them started in kinder. And then you go into kinder and you're saying this 5-year-old is responsible, or the expectation of that 5-year-old is to learn all of these things that are normally taught in a higher grade. So we set them up at 5 and tell them that they are a failure immediately entering into school and beginning sorting process that automatically eliminates 20% of the population out of the classroom. And
Well,
that's disgusting.
so I'm going to tell you something. You're right, Tabitha. So what happens is I would say I'm a very, very good teacher to an excellent teacher, and I keep track of the data. So my children grow by leaps and bounds, but they're already in the red. So even if my children grow by 100 points, this bar is already raised, and then it's raised again. And so the children that are already behind, I can get kind of caught up even with 100 points. 100 points is nothing to like scoff at or anything. It's still not getting them to where they need to be to meet those benchmarks. So I'm, in fun ways, I'm trying to get it in fun ways so that way children can find school fun and less stressful. So I know school is stressful. So and there for a little bit, I'm just going to tell you very candidly, I love teaching. I absolutely love it with a passion. I walked into school one day and I said, what am I doing? What am I doing here? I am hurting children because of what I'm doing. And then it dawned on me, but wait, I know what's happening. Because I know what's happening, I can kind of shield those children and protect them to still find the joy in their learning while still teaching harder concepts.
So when we started this subject today, my hope was that we were going to learn, some of the things that, first of all, social emotional learning. If we learn how to play with one another in kinder, we're more likely to be able to be more of a positive contributing factor to other teams that we join later in our lives. And so my thoughts and my hope was in this conversation that's what we would get to, because Mike Ashburn always tells us, you learn everything you need to know in kinder. Use your kindergarten skills now. But based on our conversation, some of what you're saying today, they're not even learning that anymore. So the opportunity for them to learn those life skills of getting along in a team or learning how to use their words and things like that are no longer available as young as 5 years of age.
So what I'm going to say, Tabitha, is if you're creative, and I figured out ways around that. So my classroom, they talk and they share and they are at the community and they help one another. And if they're doing like word building, they're building together and then they're making sentences collaboratively. They have collaborative supplies. So children have to they're in charge of that. So they pass out the supplies to others and they pass out pencils and those kinds of things. And then they're in charge of their own computers and they help each other out if they can't find things. So you can build a community within that, but you have to really think outside of the box. And if you start thinking traditional ways, you're going to be missing a lot of those opportunities. Children must talk in the classroom to be able to solidify new skills. So to expect children to sit there and be quiet, you can't, because they'll never learn it. I'd be interested to know what you think, Kristen, because we've been talking for a little bit. What are your thoughts?
I was just going to say, one of the things that I think is so interesting about kindergarten and unique is that kindergartners, they don't have those basic, skills for social emotional, and yet we're expecting them to be able to do all of these higher order thinking things without building those foundational skills first. So you're right. In order to be successful in the classroom at that age right now, I think with even pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, if you're teaching that age group, you've got to be constantly figuring out ways to infuse those skills into everything you're doing, because kindergarten is no longer kindergarten. Like we were saying, it is so much more taking the academics and pulling them down to kindergarten level. And it's just not appropriate. It's, developmentally not where the kids are, and we're leaving out all of those social emotional skills. We say oh, when they grow up, they've got to be able to work, as a team, and they've got to be able to follow directions, and they've got to be able to have time management skills and do all of these different things. But yet there's nowhere in the curriculum for us to try and teach them those things.
Right. I agree.
I don't know what to do. Okay, so I'm like,
this is as close to speechless as I've ever seen you.
I know.
Because what I'm about to say, what I want to say, I cannot say.
Right.
But I can, but I don't want to, I have to figure out how to form it in a way that's not going to be completely like catastrophic. I feel like I believe that our school system is failing our children. This is another example of that. And I believe that if we take a good percentage of those students out away from the Department of Education and place them in other educational institutions that are in alignment with what we want our children to have, I think we will end up with a better population of children in the next 20 years that will be able to carry the baton to the next generation without any problems. If we continue on the route we're on now, all we're doing is eliminating, and now we're actually causing more of a problem. The reason why I say all of this is because when you think about it, Christine and I have had a conversation about the number of suspensions that happen prior to first grade.
Right.
And most of them are happening in pre-K and kinder. So children who do not know how to engage and do different things with other students and other people find it really hard to not use their fists instead of their words and to actually do all these other things. So they get suspended, biting, fighting, insubordinate, things like that. But we've set the tone for that.
Well, and every one of those things is a communication of, every behavior is a form of communication.
Right.
And so when we're talking about all of this, all I needed to know, I learned in kinder, is no longer valid. So it's actually the contradiction of its own. Mm-hmm. And that's what today, when I came into this, when we talked about the conversation, when I've had these conversations and you get reminded, your kindergarten skills, friends, right? And so I'm thinking, you're going to come and tell me, remind me what I learned in kinder, which was how to share, how to use my words, how to be respectful of others and stuff like that. And what I just got was a book bag full of books that are heavier than me collectively and a backpack that I have to carry for a period of time with no opportunity of truly being successful. So and that is bad.
And what it is that the academics are so heavy that we sprinkle in social emotional learning, where we know that children benefit from the social emotional learning to be able to work together and to be able to solve problems, and just to, like we've talked, like just to be able to play and to be able to enjoy that process. I had one student one time tell me, he said, so talking about jobs, and she said her job was to play. She said, and she told me, and she said, and Mrs. Jones, you don't know anything about that because that's kid business. And she said, you just wouldn't understand. And she is right. That is their job. Yeah. And it's a very serious job. Just don't get it.
I love it.
I love that. I think that's cool because that's a good one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because that's what I said. Children learn through play. Yes. And then when you tell them they're childish and grow up, right? Don't play. You don't play all the time. But meanwhile, we become adults and we're like, oh, we got an adult now. So there's no giggling in the office and there's no laughing at and that's not funny. Yes, it is.
So I'll tell you, I laugh every single day and we have fun every day. And I sing and dance with my children, and my children make up their own songs. And they actually, I think it's how they ended up all learning how to count to 100, because one of my students made up a song on how to count to 100. And all of a sudden everybody was like, woohoo, we can do that too. So just kind of funny, oftentimes learning from their peers, that's a big motivator, and they want to be like them. So There's
nice.
ways to infuse it, but the problem is that we are infusing it, and that is not the main the goal in kindergarten. So what we're having are children that don't have good social emotional skills. I've been teaching now for 30 years. When I first started teaching, we had a half an hour recess in the morning, half an hour recess at lunchtime, half an hour recess in the afternoon. And I would let them do dramatic play. They played for 45 minutes in the afternoon, and we had people coming in. Those students have done very well for themselves. So now you want to take a gander at how long they play outside?
20 minutes
Sure it's
total.
a lot less.
How much?
20 minutes total.
Okay, so yeah, so we ended up getting our playtime extended to 20 minutes. So it was a 15
Hold
minutes
up.
right after lunch. What?
You went from an hour and a half toward the course of the day to extending to 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Where did extend to 20 minutes come from? Okay, so what math is that?
So this is how the pendulum has changed so much from the social emotional part of kindergarten, developing citizens to, and I'm going to tell you, we still did math and all of that kind of stuff. We had everything, but it wasn't social emotional came first. Academics were sprinkled in, and we were still doing hands-on things. It was a lot of hands-on, a lot of good learning that was taking place, but it was through the play and through interactive. And now what's happened is we have yes, we have hands-on manipulatives, but it's not developmentally appropriate. And we're having children starting to check out because it's already becoming too hard by this time of year. In March, I'm having children saying that it's, I can tell. So as a teacher, I know that if I don't get my children up like by a certain point, that they're going to struggle. I don't want my students to struggle. And then we've also talked about children not showing up to school.
Absenteeism,
Showing up late. So if a child shows up late in my classroom, let's say a parent decides to have them come in at 9:30, they have missed all of my phonics instruction. They've missed all of my guided reading. They've missed my direct writing. I might be getting a little bit of that. They would have missed everything, our community building in our morning, setting the
I'm going to go back to the same question, Christine. What type of math is that? Do you understand what I'm asking you? Because we went from an hour and 30 minutes down to extending 20. Mm-hmm. That is no math. So that's very equivalent to everybody gets a participation trophy, right? Because here's the thing. I remember when that first came out and my kids were in soccer and they were like, we're not going to keep score anymore. We're not going to keep score. Everybody gets a trophy. And I was like, that's not how life works. I was like, that makes you dense in the head. I remember telling the coach that, and he was like, well, wait a second. And I was like, yes, because you are the goofball that believes that they're not keeping score, because they're keeping score regardless of what you say out your mouth, because naturally we keep score because that's what we're taught to do. We know that if I have 1 point, you taught us, if I have a grade, if I have an A and you have a C, I am smarter than you, strictly on just grades, right? So you teach children to take score, and then you give everybody a participation trophy, and you think that that's going over very well. The only people it goes over very well with are those ones who did not participate because they were sitting on the bench, right? Because they're like, oh, I get to be a part of that. So this is very equivalent. So if you think about it, this is new math, right? Because new math says that I can take an hour and a half and tell you that I'm extending your playtime to 20 minutes. Nope. You are reducing my playtime by an hour and 10.
It shows. I'm going to tell you, it's hard because now the children need more mindfulness, whereas I think if we would let them play more, we would need less mindfulness because they would be able to expend their energy, because children have a lot of energy. So that's why I do a lot of music and music and movement and getting them up and moving around, because children can't attend for that long period of time and be able to retain that information. Now, all of when we do the singing and moving, and it is academic based, so they would still be getting it, but it's done in fun, different ways of receiving that information.
I don't know what to do myself. This is heartbreaking, because because what we're saying is that this is heartbreaking, because what you're saying is that parents are sending their children to their secondary parent who's spending more time with them than they are spending with their own children, and they are not preparing them to be successful in their lives because they're burdening them with all of these things that they haven't yet been taught or been able to do. And then you're telling them you have to buck up because you can only have 20 minutes of play. One of the first things my son said to me when he was getting ready to graduate is he didn't want to go to middle school. And I said, why don't you want to go to middle school? And he said, because they're going to cut out the recess. Yeah. We're not going to be able to play as much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at first I was like, no, they should let you play a little bit more, but then we'll pick it up at home. But what I didn't know was it was an hour and 30 minutes that they were playing while they were K through 5. And then that was going to be significantly reduced. I already knew that, but I didn't know how bad it was. So when you have that type of gap there, no wonder I walk into the offices in schools and the kid is bouncing off of the wall because he doesn't know what to do with that energy. Mm-hmm. And so you're penalizing that child for not being able to control his or her feelings, because as children, they have all this extra energy and are needed to get out of their body so that they can focus. But instead, you're trying to treat them like adults and make them sit for 8 hours, 7 hours a day while you beat them over the head with stuff that they don't know, they don't have context to absorb.
See, and the part of it is I work in a inner city Title I school. So our scores are lower. And so that's part of it. And so that's what the corporation says. So that's the issue too, is that it comes from the corporation, that it comes from the state and all of that kind of stuff, because then you got to think we get the funding, the money and all of that based off of that, or are we going to get a school takeover? So there's a lot of pressure on administration, and then it just it trickles down. So as a teacher, I try to insulate my students as much as I can from all of that extra stress, because it is a lot of stress on them.
Well, I would like to say thank you. I like to say thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, and thank you for continuing to move forward and finding creative ways to get around these loopholes that are surrounding you, because it looks like it's a lot of minefields. So between the two of you, you guys have created a book, and now a course that's going to talk about bridging the gap in education from home to school. My question is, what can you encourage parents to do now that they have a better understanding of the expectations of their kinder as they enter school? What should parents know, and how should they go about handling that now? Because I didn't know, and I'm fighting this fight, but I didn't realize that part of the fight wasn't being fought.
Would you like to talk, Kristen? Or
I'm going to say that I think the biggest thing is letting kids be kids when they're at home and not duplicating the issues that we're seeing at school. We can't fix the problem at school overnight. So let's make sure when they are at home that we are infusing as much of that social, emotional and play as we can, because they don't get it when they are in the school setting. I think the other thing too is knowing that they're expected to have these skills. So the more they can be given before they come into the door, the better. You know, a lot of times parents will say, oh, well, they'll learn that at school. They'll learn that at school. Don't make that assumption anymore. Assume that they're not going to.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Assume they're not going to learn it there, and teach them at home.
will assume that they're going to need that for school. So they're going to need that for school now, whereas before they would say, oh, the school's going to be teaching it, but the school needs almost to have it, so then that way they can be able to stay up, because our children are entering and already behind. The other thing that Kristen and I put in there are for parents that do want to work with their children at home. We found creative ways to use, they could still educate their children without tech and workbooks. So they can take them on different trips around our community and around their community, and do different things with their everyday life that they can infuse some of these educational skills in. Did you want to expand on that, Kristen?
Yeah, I
Or
think
everything else?
you nailed it. Just one of the things that we really tried to do in there is all of the natural moments, natural teaching moments that you don't realize you have in your day, where you can turn it into that teachable moment. Even if it's something like cooking your meal for dinner and helping them recognize the math that they're using while they're doing that. That's something that a lot of times we teach skills in so much isolation, and the more we can help kids generalize those skills, the better. But I think the biggest thing that our book does is put that emphasis back on social emotional learning and the importance of helping students and our little kids especially figure out how to self-regulate, and figuring out how to identify what their feelings are, and if their feelings are negative, how to work through that. Because we don't necessarily learn that. There's not a course on how to do that, necessarily in school.
So you bring up a very good point. So I pulled out this color wheel. So I got a gift one time and it told me about this color wheel, right? And they use it a lot for marketing and things like that. But in this case, I was like, I'm going to use this because I think that's a really good one to use, So the color wheel is actually broken down in colors, and it has the feelings and everything associated with it. So since at the beginning of this conversation, I was fine. I was like, yes, we can do it. We're gonna conquer this, and we're gonna say, Mike, yes, we did learn all of our skills in
kindergarten.
Clearly, that was not what happened. So right now, I can say, using the color wheel, that I am angry, right? And the next level of that is, what is it angry? I think I'm frustrated, which actually translates into being more annoyed. And my anger is like, I feel let down and betrayed. And so I think that this has been one of those really helpful things, because then I can pinpoint what each one of those are. And that's part of what social emotional learning can help each of the students do. So for those parents out there who may be looking for ways to kind of help them, if you get this color wheel and have all of the feelings on here, you can actually help your child to identify and be able to successfully explain to you where their feelings are. Yes. The reason why I chose those ones specifically is because right now I do feel very betrayed by our educational system. I feel like I failed my children, and I don't want to cry about it because it's not something like that. I feel like I failed them because I bought into a promise that was made to us for education, and what we're turning around and doing with it is actually weaponizing it for someone else's financial gain, and then telling our children, which are the victims in our story, that is their responsibility to solve for them for later. Yeah. And that's why I'm angry and frustrated and feeling let down and betrayed, because even though so many people have said that this is what's happening and some things need to change, leadership has made decisions that says that they're not going to make the change, and they continue to harm more people and then attach a dollar amount to it. And if any of the parents are listening and they decide and they are feeling the same way I'm feeling, just send me a message. Let us know, because I have a plan, and the plan that I have moving forward, now having a little bit more ammunition for that, it definitely gives me more motivation for all of us to complete that plan. And that means that we can educate our children better and differently, with the respect of them, and for their outcome, the one that they want to receive, can be successfully achieved collectively. And we're not going to get that if we continue to believe that shoveling our money into a system that their best interest in heart and not ours is going to change. And that's why, I mean, normally I'm a little bit more bubblier. I think but I think that I'm glad that you did this. You took the wind out of my sails because I needed that. Because in order for people to understand how serious this is, now I understand why the mom said to me, she cried when she pulled her kids out of school. She cried for days behind this. And it was because it was a broken promise. And when she said it to me at first, I understood kinda, but I don't think I truly understood until today. And so I hope that anybody who's watching this and says, okay, yeah, this is something that I'm struggling with, please reach out to Christine or Kristen. Don't worry, confuse their names. I do it all the time. And just reach out to them and ask them questions, and go to Amazon and pick up their book. You are responsible for your child's education. If your co-parent, which is your school district, does not hold your same value systems and is not giving you what you need, what you and your child needs to be successful in their lives, I strongly recommend you look for other options, because there's not today, tomorrow, ever that anyone can say there are absolutely no other options, because there are. This is giving me a headache. Thank you, Christine. It's been so
yeah.
Go ahead, give me your final thoughts.
I was just going to say, it's hard being an educator sometimes, because I sit across the table from parents and I have to explain what the kindergarten report card looks like and what their children's responsibilities are. And that will be coming up. And then I get to tell them how they're doing on those kindergarten skills and responsibilities that are not developmentally appropriate for their child, and they shouldn't be doing in the first place. So that's what I get to do in a couple of weeks, and try to figure out how to tactfully build a bridge between home and school, and and how to tactfully handle that. So it puts us in a pretty challenging position too.
Oh my gosh, I feel so bad for you guys. This isn't right, and this is just a systematic screw up. But I have a question. Might be positive. That's it.
Okay.
Look, my brain worked hard enough, and it was like, okay, we have a solution. So we always like a solution. As a parent, if I received a checklist prior to going to school, prior to sending my kinder to school, and I said, and you said, hey, by the way, Tabitha, we want your student, by the time they're ready to come to school, here's the checklist of items I want you to make sure that they know before they come into school. Mm-hmm. Now, and then flip it over on the back, and this is a checklist of what is expected of you during the school year. And then have them agree to sign off on it. Do you agree that you're going to be a part of this equation or part of the process? And see if that can help to bridge that gap earlier. Because I'm the parent, if you tell me what I need to do, I will do it to the T and above, because I want the success, right?
So you ready for this, Tabitha?
Yes.
Okay. This is why we are writing our book, because we have a parent open house, and the parents get to come in and register their children and listen to everything that's going to be going on. Every year it gets less and less. Guess how many we had last year? We were so excited. We had 5 families. 5 families.
And that's the
realization. And then guess what happened? School's about ready to start. The week before school starts, we get enrollment. Then, wait, the school buses are coming by. Oh, that means I need to enroll my child in school. So we have late enrollees, or the day of, or that week. this is the reality of what's happening. So, and I think this is how the educational gap is getting wider, because you would go ahead and sign that, and you would be getting your child ready. There's other parents that are waiting until the day after school or the week after school and saying that they're getting their child ready, and their records are not being done until later. Myself as a parent, I thought I was behind because I went to that open house and it took me 2 weeks to get in those records because I hurried up and I tried to rush it through, and I thought that I was a slacker. Oh no, I was probably the first one that had everything turned in.
Mm-hmm. So I agree and I understand. Now let's fight. So here's the thing. I know, let's fight.
You want to fight?
So here's the thing. Everything, every choice that is made, there is good, bad, or indifferent. There is a consequence to it. It's just that simple. A good decision sometimes has great outcomes, and sometimes it has horrible outcomes. No matter which way, you don't know how it's going to flip. You just don't until you do it. But when you do something and then the response is not favorable, the only thing we can control is how we respond to the one thing that we didn't like coming back to us. So we've talked a little bit about what's been going on and all the changes that happened in Kinder. Is it possible that the reason why you have very low enrollment or participation in your parent nights, your Kinder roundup, is because, okay, don't say that, Tabitha. So is it because they are meeting you with the same energy they received prior? Do you understand that? I will not show up if you do not show out. If you are not interested in my success, I'm not interested in participating in your mess.
I would say no. I would say it has to do with parents knowing when it's getting the word out to the parents when things need to be done, because some parents are like, school starting, I need to enroll my child in school because school is starting, not thinking that the preparation for school starts way before they get into school. So I think
okay, so it's not that. All right, so we remove that. Now parents are working 3 jobs. How are you asking them to show up for this kindergarten roundup? Go.
They can also come in and they can enroll after that. So we put out flyers, we do stuff on the radio and all of that. They can come in and enroll their children after. So sometimes we might be sitting at about 30 children enrolled, and we're hoping that there's going to be 3 classes, before school starts. So we start watching those numbers, so we know if we have like X amount that we're probably going to be able to have 3 classes. If not, we know that we're probably going to be cutting a class, and all of a sudden at the very end we have this whole mass of children that start enrolling. But see, the problem is school.
I just think that I get it. But what I'm saying is, I think that some of it is that we're not considering the fact that so many people are homeless and trying to find a place to land. One. I think the other part of it is financial. So based on what their schedule is, they're trying to get in too. Third part is that they don't want to send their students there because the school is not giving them the outcome that they want to have. They've either had other children in there or they have friends that have spoken badly about it. And they're like, these people don't do anything. Just do it when you can, girl, and just get it done. And so it's low on their checklist of things to do, because when they were there, their experience was not favorable. So therefore they're pulling from that experience potentially. I don't know any of these people. I show up where I'm supposed to be, especially when it comes to my kids. I'm just like, nope, let's figure this out. But I don't know. You gave me a headache. So the subject gave me a headache. This is not what I was expecting. You personally did not give me a headache, Christina and Kristen. But oh my gosh, this is a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna we're going to put a pen here, because this conversation we're going to pick up again at another time, because I do believe that it's more to explore. And this one is one we should probably dig in a little bit deeper to give these parents a solution, because it's not right that they're being requested so much without giving them enough information to be successful. So the parents maybe don't have enough information, or they're trying to catch up because they're we don't know what their stuff is. And we always assume, I mean, I've seen it. People assume all the time that parent is not doing their job, or they're just too lazy, or they're this, that, and other. And that's not the case.
Right.
They're just trying to make it work. Right. And it's hard. And I've been in these places where these kids don't know where they're going to sleep.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and if they're having that feeling, that means the kids are having that feeling too. And that's something. So yeah, this was a challenging conversation, but I'm glad we had it, because I don't think you had to put me in my place, Christine. I'm not speechless. I was just ticked. And the stuff that was coming to my mouth, I told you, when it hits here, it runs for the escape. And I was catching it. I had a filter on today for sure, because I was catching it, because some of the things I was going to say would have been explosive. It was not pleasant. So I had to pull back. I just think it wasn't okay. So, yeah, this was a good conversation. Thank you very much for hanging out with us and figuring that out. Again, if you can please go ahead and scan to like and subscribe to the channel, we would greatly appreciate it. As a reminder, our conversation today was tough. All I needed to know, I learned in kindergarten. Well, that took a turn. And it's actually well worth the listen. And we love to hear your comments. This is definitely a conversation that has to be returned back to the platform. So we'll be able to do that later. Ladies, do you have anything you'd like to say as we wrap up?
Just as always, thank you for having us on.
Thank you very much.
The wind in my sails are gone.
Sorry.
All right, Christine, I thank you very much for everything you do. I do. I love the fact that you're a teacher, and I'm glad that you're in my camp. So until next time, same bat channel, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest in discussing a contradiction or would like to be on our live show, please let